Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. That show being Overclock Workshop. We're your host, Barrel and Vision.
All right.
I'm slightly ill at the moment. My voice isn't in good shape. Well, that's the long and short of it. My voice isn't in good shape, but the show must go on.
Nice.
So this week it's the second engineer secondary, the bitch cutter.
I don't think it's called that.
The breach cutter.
That is more accurate.
Not even just because of my voice, but I see no reason to really beat around the bush. Breach cutter is one of the most powerful weapons in the game, and listen, I don't really feel needed for a discussion beforehand. We can probably just jump right into this. I know that our cleans are very similar. They're also very clean. So we really shouldn't be able to spend too much time on them. So I think we should just jump straight into this time. I mean, I would usually explain what the series is. I actually forgot to do that. We just present an overclock of each category, our ideas for an overclock of each category for the given weapon, a clean, balanced, and unstable, and verbally assault each other over them. Let's begin with my clean overclock for the breach cutter, space efficient plasma, which you can probably, I don't know if you can guess what this is. It's like slight. There you go. There's the voice going. Slightly increased beam width and slightly increased magazine capacity. It's just.
Oh, really are quite similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think there isn't an overclock that increases magazine capacity, which isn't something I would necessarily.
That increases beam width.
There isn't. There is. Oh no, spinning death does.
Right, I guess.
But this is just a slight increase, like as in, to me, when you so the increase is by 0.8, so it's not as much as yours. So to me, that's sort of like this doesn't substitute for the mod that increases beam width, in my opinion. It kind of does, but I'd say it also might encourage someone to go even further and have ridiculous beam width. I'd say it could push you in either direction, and that's what works about it. And the magazine capacity, that one definitely is so you don't have to take the magazine capacity upgrade. You know, that like 4 shots in the magazine is very good on a breach cutter. You should be happy with that, because frankly I find the increased lifetime upgrade better anyway, usually, although I do miss magazine capacity sometimes. 6 is quite a bit, because that's also, when you have that mod, that's plus 3 ammo as well, plus 3 max ammo. But in this case, it's just a slight increase to either of these things that, in my opinion, could encourage you to either not pick the like the similar upgrades, or pick them to go overboard in one of these regards. So it works in that sense to me. Any thoughts?
Ready for your thoughts? My thoughts are that it is a clean overclock. Therefore, it's very hard to fuck up. It's very hard to make a clean that is dumb. Except if you give it.
We've tried our damnedest. I'd say.
Yeah.
We've put forward some pretty. I'd say me more so, because I don't. It's because we're doing a series where we're coming up with overclock ideas. You don't want to come up with boring shit. But sometimes the boring shit can be the good shit, and sometimes the boring shit is needed to perhaps fill a gap. I don't know if I'm necessarily filling a gap here. I think you are. So let's actually move on to yours.
Yeah. As you can probably tell by what we mentioned for the other one, I went for just wide load.
The wider load.
And except in no extra stuff. It literally is just wide. An extra 1.5, which is what all the other modifiers really do.
So this is double base width, isn't it?
It's
quite substantial.
It's very wide, but really, if you think about it, you don't need it to be that wide. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, have you ever shot at a horde and be like, "Wow, I really wish the beam was wider."
Sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
I picture this being very useful with plasma trail more than anything.
Maybe. Yeah.
Very wide
Yeah.
plasma trail.
Yeah, but yeah, literally it was because there wasn't really a clean wide or really any form of wide that didn't include a spinning death, was it?
Oh, I thought you were going to say that didn't include sacrificing your ammo, but that's still true because you
Yeah.
can't take the ammo upgrade if you pick beam whip, and spinning death reduces your ammo by quite a bit anyway. I tell you, it's funny though. It's increasing the beam width when you have spinning death. It's just stupid. But yeah, I do ponder how extreme this would be. I don't think it's going to increase your damage output that much, though. To be honest,
I mean, I don't think it's particularly amazing of an overclock. I don't think many people will run it, but it's one of those things, which is why what I like doing with the cleans for is that like I want it to be there, right? If you want a stupidly wide beam, the option's there.
Yeah.
you can do it. And that's what this is. And I don't think it's not like I've given it like 800 width loads and it's like the map size. It's just like as much as the mod gives you, so you can kind of get 2 times that. But yeah, those are the cleans. Not much really needs to be said.
No, I don't think it's any debate really.
No.
I can see in practice maybe yours would be stronger than we think, but as it stands, I can't be bothered to provide a solution because I don't think it's actually a problem. I just think potentially if they were to add this, it might end up being like, bro, this is like the only overclock you should use for the breach cutter. I can imagine it turning
just
into
something like a thing that's just missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I can't say that for certain. But anyway, speaking of very wide beams, or in this case, abstractly wide, my balanced overclock, hula hoop.
Hula hoop.
Yeah, hula hoop.
Hula hoop's actually a thing outside the UK.
No, I don't know. So I like this because it allowed me for the symbol to use heightened senses because it's like a man with like rings coming off him. So I think. So the actual like points written here, like the bullet points, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. The plasma is released in an expanding ring centered around the player. That's like the main point. Obviously, there's other things. It adds fear as well, and slightly decreased damage per shot. That'd be minus 75 and increased reload time. Plus 1.1 seconds. That's weird. Why did I write that? It's because the base reload time for the breach cutter, I think, is 3.3 seconds. Anyway, so yeah, when you shoot, it's like a ring around you, and it just expands. It's like as long as the it's alive, as long as the ring is in existence. It corresponds to your actual beam lifetime. It's not any different from that. Which brings to mind immediately probably a necessary nerf. Is that this isn't meant to be long range, but it would be probably even with the base lifetime. This is something to just clear out everything in like very short range. You know, it's like heat radiance on the breach cutter, which is why probably should have put a lifetime penalty, like quite a strong one.
Yeah. What the negatives again? Reload time and
slightly decreased damage as well.
Damage.
I think maybe I would immediately actually, because this is what we do, we workshop them. I would probably get rid of the reload time penalty, increase the damage penalty, and also add the lifetime penalty.
It's also so if you were to want to shoot something on the ceiling, what would it do? Would it like not go up, or would it then be like tilted up?
I think it would be tilted.
So most of it will head towards the enemy, but then like a ring will just go into the ground.
Yeah, I think so. So it would take some stuff away from the breach cutter, but this is just to keep you safe more than anything because I suppose it applies fear as well. now.
Because like
cool.
my first instinct when you said that, I was like, wait a minute, this is broken. Like, this is ridiculous. You could literally, like, if you're, I don't know, do so, you could just clear out an entire fucking hall at the press of a button. But then I realised it's actually very awkward to do so. So, I don't know. I think it's a bit iffy. I feel like, for a balance, it's pretty radical. But then again, the breach card is kind of like that.
I mean,
it's
return to sender is pretty wild, isn't
breach
it?
cutter is not against doing some whack ass shit.
No. Shit, what was I going to say? I have forgotten. I have. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think it's that overpowered. I think most of the penalties probably do come from awkwardness. It's like you can't really use it to directly. You can't be that precise with it. I mean, you kind of can. Like within range, a Praetorian is still going to be affected as normal, pretty much, and they'll probably get feared as well.
It's still going to be very strong damage wise and fear, and not to mention that. Bear in mind the width of this is like 360 degrees, I guess.
Yeah, like, not fun for your teammates, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a shield, it's probably fantastic, but in general, like in doing a uplink,
that as an engineer,
doing an uplink, you're gonna be fucking with your teammates a lot.
Well, you'd have to give them platforms to like get away from you.
Yeah, you'll just be on the ground. They'll all be above you. Yeah, it could work. I do realise it's some. I don't think it's actually that awkward.
And like, what if you moved during this? Does it go out from the like it just like rings away from when you shot it?
Yeah, right? Yeah, it doesn't follow you.
So then you're kind of stuck in your own beam until it goes. You
can't damage yourself with it. You can't damage yourself with return to sender. No, so that's fine. It's all good, baby.
But you could damage yourself.
I don't think this is actually unintuitive, but I do think it has some hidden drawbacks. Mainly with the teammates thing, though, to be honest.
I think it's going to end up being far more awkward than it's worth, more often than not. The lack of versatility in that it's only really useful horizontally, but most of the time bogs aren't that horizontal. The cave's not that flat.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it would still be just as useful though in most situations if I didn't decrease the lifetime. And as it's written here, there isn't a lifetime decrease.
Yeah, but then it gets to the point. Then what's the real benefit?
Just when you're surrounded, just being able to kill everything or really scare them away.
So it's just as good as normal, but can become in like if you're engulfed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the breach cut is pretty good at that anyway, but.
Yeah, but this is sort of taking that aspect of it to limits because you can't kill things behind you with the breach cutter. I mean, let's return to sender. But this to me is better than return to sender, which is why maybe I sort of got the penalties wrong. I think I like the idea and I'm going to stick with it, but I think maybe the penalties will need to be looked at more than anything, in my opinion. Because like you can't change it without changing what it is.
Yeah.
So if you just don't think the idea is good, that's fine. Because then you just wouldn't add it. But if they were, it would be this. But the penalties are what I would look to. Maybe decreasing ammo and lifetime instead of what I've done here. I don't think the penalties are enough. And frankly, when it comes to this series, sometimes we do fairly boring cleans, but the balanced and the unstables are almost always just unstable. Because when you look at the game, a lot of balanced overclocks feel like unstables. There's no real pattern. I mean, there is in that unstable overclocks tend to have more points, more positives or more negatives, usually more negatives. But some of them are indistinguishable. Like so many balanced overclocks feel like they change the way the gun works more than the unstables. Like Burning Hell.
Yeah.
Like,
It is kind of, it's honestly like cleans are easy to do. No negatives, you got to clean. But as far as balance and fucking unstable goes, we have no idea what they decide which is which with.
no,
Like,
it's impossible to
it,
discern, in my opinion. Like, I think the Hurricane might be the biggest one in this regard. Think about like
I
plasma
mean,
bursters and mine layers change how it works almost entirely, and they're both balanced. And
yeah,
then
and meanwhile,
Salvo
salvo
module is
module
quite
doesn't change much at
extreme.
all.
Yeah, it's just
Well, it doesn't
it's an
actually
added function, but it's
change
still
how the gun works inherently. It just adds something. Yeah,
it does because you can't actually auto fire it. You have to fire it to fire it normally.
I suppose.
But it's not. You know, it's fairly close to the base gun. And then jet fuel home. Well, this is not the discussion for right now. This is not.
Maybe that one. But point is,
Ice
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The balance and unstables are iffy. We don't get why which is which. Like they're both the same. They both have reasonable negatives, positives, and do ridiculous things.
Yeah.
But
to me, it's usually just the balance should be equal, the equal number of positives and negatives. I don't know why.
yeah, which isn't even the case. But
no, I don't think it is.
it just feels better.
Yeah.
But even then. So it's basically they're just two unstable pitches or two interesting pitches. Like the cleans are kind of boring, but safe bets, and then these two are the ones where we pull out some ideas, and see how it goes. And for your idea, Harry, I am not a fan. I'm not. I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting it more often than not, because like half the shot is probably going to be shooting at things I can't even see and probably aren't there. And I think the fear thing, I'm not. I mean, the fear thing would mean that they're running into the beam, right?
Yeah.
Like the beam's going to be moving out, and the fear, yeah. So that is, it's like it's a 360 radius attack damage that, if hit, going to guarantee that they continue to take more damage. It is annoying and broken at the same time. I think it's really annoying to use, and I could never see myself using it. But I also think it's going to be absolutely broken as hell. And I don't know how you've ended up with both of these, but
because I'm crazy. Anyway,
yeah.
But moving on, I think perhaps your balance would be something that create more problems than it's worth. To be honest,
I think my balance. I think it was more of a just because we can doesn't inherently mean we should, right?
This is more based on principle than anything else. It should exist.
I cannot actually see the usefulness to this, but then again, I never really could see why the mole is useful, and that kind of clears what it is. Reverse engineered, which is one of the longer names, but because
as we know, the breach cutter is the reverse engineered mining tool.
Yeah, so I made it back to that, and using the new terrain braking, clearing, whatever you call it, of the coil gun, you apply it to this, and you now cut through terrain. And I've added minerals because I was like, I can't see this being entirely useful. So maybe it becomes, because they're not immune, they're not against mining minerals with guns, right? Like Driller can do it. So I thought, maybe Engineer could do it with this, and that could be a thing. Like if it's like on a wall, you can shoot up and it clears out the thing, and then it all falls down or flies away. They're like making things fly away to balance it. But yeah, reduce the lifespan a little bit, because so you can't really get everything on the roofs or stuff like that clear through terrain as much.
I have to ask, because what it says here, the text as read says reduce lifespan 0.5. Is that minus half a second, or is that times
minus half a
so
second?
It's half. Okay, minus half. That's fair, because that reduces it to 1 second or 2.5 with the upgrade. I wouldn't mind it done in a way where you could only have 1 or 2 seconds max, but that's slightly more complicated. I wouldn't worry about that.
Point is reduce lifespan, because that kind of makes it less broken. But I wouldn't say it's broken, but less. It does a bit less than what it advertises.
The word ridiculous applies here more than the word broken, because this will have some unruly effects. Right? You'll be doing like imagine. I don't know. It's so crazy and cool, but I don't see
I just
the
thought about it.
usefulness.
I'm
sure there are
thought
plenty
of
of places that
really
it can-
cool usefulness for it.
Yeah.
You know, like the beams. Like sometimes there's just big ass giant beams in the way. A shot to the bottom, a shot to like as high as you can get it, and the beam will go because it'll be mined out. No more contact as long as there's not other contact. But
Yeah, you could take
Yeah.
out like all beams on one
it'll
side
be
of
it'll be
ours,
heavy
and-
terrain clearing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, which
Oh, that's a
As-
single example. That would be something
as
really
iffy
good
as it
at,
is,
and that's fine.
I think you need to bear in mind that the breach cutter is a very good killing weapon, and so adding a bit of utility is, I think, at least some of worth of note. And it being a mining equipment, this is just where my mind went. Which I think is reasonable. Maybe it doesn't inherently mine minerals, but maybe you could mine minerals if you like mined all of the rock that it's attached to, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Which I think is, well, I don't know how the EPC thing works. I think it just mines everything in the area. It doesn't care what. But yeah.
Now we do sort of have to discuss how much terrain in terms of height is actually going to clear out, because if it's just the height of the beam, that's a very thin
Well, it
slice of
depends on
terrain.
your. What do you mean? Like what?
Is every shot going to be clearing out like a dwarf-sized hole that someone could walk through?
No, it's like the mole. It's as big as the projectile. So if you were to have use these like single beam, then it would just have a line through the terrain. And if you use tri-beam, like 3 lines, stuff like that.
Well, no, because the way the triple split beam works, it would be from top to bottom, we cleared out. Which is why I would use that, because to me this is a way of sort of opening up firing lines for your turrets and other weapons. Because
Sure.
I feel need
maybe
to
maybe with the tri-beam
say this in
like
case
that.
you've somehow forgotten. The breach cutter does go through terrain.
Yeah, I know it goes through.
I was
but
getting
it doesn't-
worried that you'd forgotten, because
Yeah.
it makes me question what the actual purpose is if it's not cutting decent sized holes that people could walk
Yeah.
through.
Oh well, and shoot through. Like, it just adds the whole hole in the wall kind of thing. So I don't know. I just kind of thought it's a mining tool. Make it mine, and that's where this came from.
Yeah, I don't. It's not. I don't think it's actually a negative. I mean, I could see it posing problems, like opening basically ways for enemies to get into places and stuff like that. Like if you're doing a salvage op and you do the thing where you make the bunker and all that kind of crap, but that's not that common. I don't think that should like discourage someone from creating an overclock like this. And to me, it's just like the RJ250 of the breach cutter, really. But then again, the RJ250 lends itself to one of the best builds for the grenade launcher. So this is something I would like to be added just to see what people make of it, to be honest. I don't think I
Yeah.
can really fault it. I think it's quite ridiculous, but I don't think it doesn't strike me as immediately overpowered.
And I don't think it's out of nowhere either.
No,
because, mining.
it's got a basis.
So I think they could easily like slip it in and it'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's not that revolutionary. It was literally just mine, please, and it does now, or with my Overclock it does. But I think we need to move on.
Yeah, speaking of things that have in-game basis but have absolutely no reason to exist,
It's a good start.
my unstable overclock is called MILSPEC configuration, and what that means, MILSPEC stands for military specification. And the specifications we're using are those of the plasma carbine. So what that means is, well, actually the first positive isn't that crazy. Increased projectile speed plus 20%, which is actually, when it comes to breach cutter, that's kind of a nerf, because less time a projectile spent in enemy, less damage it will do. Next point, absolutely incomprehensible increase in ammo and magazine capacity. Do you want to guess the numbers? Everyone can see the numbers, they're right there. Do you want to guess?
400.
Oh, no. 138. ammo,
Damn it.
17 magazine capacity, greatly decreased shot width, that's minus 66%, and massive decrease in projectile DPS, minus 500. So that brings it down to 75. This is basically this is actually an idea I've had for a while. It's basically just take the breach cutter and distribute its damage over a massive ammo pool and just see what happens. So you're roundabout doing roughly the same thing, but it's just a lot more versatile. So you'd have to pour a lot more shots in to get the same results, but you can use it so much more freely. And it's definitely like a very divorced from the breach cutter's base stats, but I don't think it's as extreme of a change of function as you think. The only massive change is you're going to be firing a lot more shots, really, when you think about it. And that's what I kind of like about it. It's more of a plasma rifle now that just has infinite piercing.
Did you increase like the reload or fire rate or whatever?
Now, I haven't in my head, I haven't changed the text since I wrote it all. But yes, a fire rate increase would be necessary. You need to be able to fire these shots quite quickly.
And maybe a reload, like magazine. You need to like rework the entire gun from like the foundation up, and I don't think there's enough space in the overclock space to actually have that many positive negatives rework. And I like the idea, don't get me wrong, but I think if anyone could point to an unstable overclock, this is one of them. Like this is a complete radical change of the gun you've grown to love, and it's now a different being entirely.
Yeah, I mean it does say the breach cutter has been tweaked in a way that leaves it almost unrecognizable.
Yeah,
it's still a breach cutter at heart, because it still does what the breach cutter does, just on a much smaller scale, but with much more ammo. I don't know. I don't think it loses exactly what the breach cutter is to me. It just does it in a slightly stranger way. The only problem I see is that things get a little bit blurry when you look at the 5th tier upgrades. Mainly Plasma Trail, I think, because I think Explosive Goodbye would sort of just be like, okay, just turn off the fact that you can manually do it, and they'll just explode at the end of the lifetime, and that will create some weird results. But Plasma Trail is probably ridiculous if you don't decrease the damage of Plasma Trail.
Plasma do less damage.
Yeah. The overall
it would
damage
just have to
in
become
every
pretty pathetic.
capacity. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's a crazy change, but it would feel less powerful. That's the thing. This is one where I really don't think this is actually a bad idea at all, and I just like to see it, just to see if it works or not.
Obviously, it's not like a simple idea, but it's like one of the most default kind of unstable ideas that just you completely reverse the gun. You know what I mean? Like they did it with the grenade launcher, with the super quick like direct damage one, right? You just flip it on its head, see what happens.
But in this case, it's just through stat changes. There's no actual added function or removed functions. That's basically what it is. How much can I change about it just by changing the stats?
You would probably have to tinker with literally basically every stat on that goddamn gun. Like, that'd be pretty cool if they did do it, but I don't know.
Also, it should be said that when it comes to the ammo and magazine capacity increases, they're written here as numbers, but if this were to be added, they would have to be percentages, because like, the ammo upgrade, because when an overclock changes, when an overclock adds, say, ammo or magazine capacity as a percentage, that changes the upgrades proportionally. So you couldn't have the overclock add 138 ammo and then the mod on the weapon add 6. It would need to add like 30 or something, you know. So that's a normal thing. That's not an ask. That's a thing that happens with a lot of overclocks. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's so radically different that we can't comment on how balanced or unbalanced it is. We do not have a frame of reference to try and even I have an idea of if it would be too strong. That would be like weeks of testing in game to find the right amount of ammo, damage, radius, plasma. Like all of that would have to be done to like make sure it's balanced, which I think it is possible, but it'll be impossible for us to do it
I
with.
think what is interesting is that the DPS decreases 500, so it comes down to 75. Which means it's probably actually not going to be that good against like just a single grunt. It probably actually won't do much.
Yeah.
You want to be saving it for groups and bigger enemies, and I think it's only slightly more versatile. Like this is why I don't think there's much I would actually change about this, because it's just as it stands, it's so extreme. But it doesn't change that much. It's weird.
There really isn't much we can like say about this. This is just an unstable idea, really.
It's the kind that you would want to see in game just to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
I don't actually think it's fundamentally flawed or good either. I don't know. It's just this is why you have to have it. Ghost ship. It's my official pitch to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're right though. There's not much more we can say about it. So let's move on to your unstable, which is maybe crazier.
So what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? We don't know, but what we do know is that I'm making an immovable object. That was smooth. It wasn't smooth at all.
That was the clunkiest sentence ever.
Thank you. Right, immovable object.
He flipped the logo on its side. Look, it's like the ricochet symbol of it. He turned it around.
Yeah, because it's like the wall and they can't. Nothing can. Point is, increased damage, 200. More damage, more. Yes, a lot of damage. Which is, I think it gets up to like 1,000 something. I think it might already get to 1,000 something.
No. It would go from base up to 775. And I don't know, maybe it does reach 1,000, I'm not sure. If you add the damage. What have you done?
Yeah. Point is, more damage. More lifetime. Thinking, what is this? This is broken. This can't be added. And you're probably right. But it doesn't move. The beam stays exactly in the same place when it started. And it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. In the identical pose. X, Y, everything. It's just there. And it does immense damage, and it lasts a while, and it just sits there, and your teammates bump into it, and they immediately die, and it's just sitting there, and it's killing things, or it's not killing things, depending on how well you put it down. And I probably should have done some ammo negative.
I've never seen someone reverse a car clicker. It doesn't move.
It's just sitting there, and it's done. And that is my unstable overclock idea.
I just don't know.
It's sitting there. It's a fence. It's basically just like an electric fence. It's just you just kind of place it down, put it nicely, pop. And this was when I was under the impression, this was that you could take damage from your own beams. Because I was thinking that you would have to not equip the immediately place, or else you'll kill yourself immediately. But apparently you don't take damage, which that might be a thing. Because this was also more balanced in my head, because you would then avoid it as well. But now that you wouldn't,
no, it's one of the best things about spinning death is that you can stand in the middle of it. Speaking of that, though. So, as stupid as this is, I can't fault it on that many levels, except that I don't see how this wouldn't be insanely better than Spinning Death. That's the main problem I have with it. I do think Spinning Death maybe needs a bit of a buff because it's not that attractive of an overclock to me. But this just seems ridiculous. And obviously, with the way the breach cutter works, the beam doesn't activate straight away. I mean, you have to take the mod for it to do that, but I assume it wouldn't travel either.
No, just on pew. It's there.
It usually
The
takes like
instant it left the
0.2
gun.
seconds to appear, but in this case, it wouldn't travel, but it would still take 0.2 seconds to appear, right? Unless you take the upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have to rely on things coming towards you as well, which obviously, but like example, Spinning Death is pretty good against dreadnoughts and stuff like that. This I can't tell because you'd have to rely on the dreadnought coming towards you, but then it would get through it quite quickly too. It would like the dreadnought would just walk through it very fast. Like it's doing a massive amount of damage, but it has very little chances to do so. I think most of the time.
Well, it's a longer lifetime, so I mean, with but you basically be running around it. But now that I know you can run through it, then you can just keep running in and out of it, in and out of it.
By the way, I'm pretty sure with how it works, it does actually have to be moving to deal damage. So, if that's true, if that's true, let's just move. Listen, if that's true, let's just say for the whole time it just moves backwards and forwards 0.1 meters like all the time. It's just constantly doing that.
That means it's moving.
If necessary,
and it doesn't move.
Yeah, but he wouldn't notice it moving. He might as well not be moving.
It's gyrating, Harry, and I don't want it gyrating. It's not an immovable gyrator. No, wait, that's probably the other word. A gyrating object. It's an immovable object. It doesn't move. But yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah. I don't know. Maybe they just add like a tick damage. But point is, I kind of I just kind of came up with the idea at some point in the process, and I kind of for some reason really like it. Yeah. Like I just find it really fun that you just like put it down and then just for like the next like 10 seconds, I think maybe up to like a thing is just there. It's just sitting there doing immeasurable damage.
You know what's crazy about it? I don't think I would have much fun with it, to be honest. It feels like it takes a lot away. I don't think it's actually broken. I feel like this would be fairly strong. Like it's not the most intuitive thing to use, but I think it was something that would become clear how you would use it quite quickly. And I don't think it's completely broken either, because it does leave a big gap. Like obviously Engine's primaries are his main sort of his longer range damage options, but the secondaries still have that, and when you take away range completely, that does take away something. So I don't think its strength is unearned. I think you put together something that can exist. I don't think this is too far fetched.
Yeah,
just about possible.
The breach cutter is just like that. It's really one of those guns that they kind of gone ham on, and therefore any ideas that you make up that are kind of ridiculous is perfectly reasonable with the breach cutter. It is really one of the wildest guns that they added, at least in Gen 2.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
but yeah,
that sounds about right. Anyway, I need to go.
Yes, I imagine you do.
So you want to need to? I'm thinking, do I need to shout anyone out this time?
What?
I don't know. I feel like I was end up shouting out like Lazy Maybe or something, and I will go watch Lazy Maybe's video on the Shard Diffractor. It's really good. I know probably everyone who's watching this has probably seen it. I mean, obviously next week we're doing the Shard Diffractor. I'm excited for that. I know we have one that's similar again, and I think that's going to be a recurring thing. I hope it is, actually.
Well, we're very similar-minded.
All right.
We're a hive mind. We think as one. But yeah, look forward to it because we are.
You should. Are we? I am actually. I'm looking forward to the Shard Diffractor.
I do actually enjoy this quite a bit.
That's not what it's about. I've noticed the dwarf's foot. It's got like a little bit of yellow like digging into him. My photoshopping skills aren't quite there. It's not Photoshop. Anyway, yeah, we should wrap this up because we're done, so we should wrap it up. Rock and
Au
stone,
revoir.
everyone. And by rock and stone, I mean like and subscribe because rock means like and stone means subscribe. So rock and stone, everyone, like and subscribe.
Please subscribe.
What's the bell?
Please rock. The notification bell. Well, that is Tipsy at Lloyd's Bar.
Oh, snapping the dice. Just snapping the dice.
Snap the dice, that works too.
Yeah, that's something everyone does. Or the We're Rich. It's when you do the We're Rich.
If
No,
we
that's
ever have
commenting.
members, which
That's
I'm
commenting.
still not sure how that works, that could be Tipsy, because you give a bit of money.
Okay. All right, we're done, guys. See you next podcast.